Parade of Grafters.
Jackson, no!
Ding, ding.
Never know how to start these fucking things.
How do you start these things? With a psh of a can, usually.
Well, either way. So the
Heine. Not drunk
we'll have a bunch of
Heineken.
texts. Text will explain who you are, what you've done, so we don't have to give the
Not
the
everything.
boring
Not,
well, no.
not done it. Like, do you know what I mean? Some
None of the
stuff
band
needs to
stuff,
just,
but
yeah.
so we can get into that separately. Who's that Blue Note flyer? Whose account was that?
So that is
The flyer account.
yeah. So that's a lad up in the northeast who was in a bunch of bands up there. Who's, you know, like there's a lot of this going on at the moment where
This is what I was going to
people
say.
are reaching into this. Like it's the nostalgia trip, isn't it?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
mid 40s.
We
You
are.
start, you know,
I think I'm
mid
probably about
40s.
a couple of months older than you.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm 44 now, 45 soon. So you just, I think, from my experience, this is around the time you start having a little reach back to the thing you were doing 20-something years ago, and it's enjoyable and it's good. And like there just seems to be a load of accounts that are just like, here's every flyer that I say from between like 97 and 2005.
Yeah, I got a bunch.
Yeah, there you go. I was probably at a mall sort of thing.
Well, actually, as it goes, you were at all of those flyers. So we can
There you
dig
go.
through them
We'll
shortly.
dig through.
Literally every single one of them is a band you played
But
in.
it's mad, isn't it?
But yeah, there's been a lot of those. I mean, I did one of those accounts for a minute, but then I kind of got lost the enthusiasm. You kind of run through your cache, and then it's a sick thing to see everyone throwing them out there, though, because it's like...
I'm loving it because I'm not much of a saver. Like, I never took photos, and I never saved flyers. Like, I don't know, it's just not something I ever did. I'm not one for, like, archiving and preserving or hoarding at all.
Yeah.
So there's a load of flyers where I'm like, oh, I played that. Or like, wow, I don't remember driving to
And every once in a
Canterbury.
while, you're like, I don't remember that at all.
I don't remember loads of it.
Yeah.
And I never, as I said, I never take photos. I rely on everybody else to do the archiving. So now it's all coming back out. I'm actually really enjoying it. Also wishing I kept a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it would be nice to have a load of stuff to like go through myself.
I imagine we'll get to a point though where like literally everything will just be online.
It's got to be eventually.
There'll be somebody that'll kind
of
of go through and just troll every one of the individual flyer accounts and just like create a master.
That's what.
archive.
Yeah, you need like the kind of like the holding account for everything where everyone just bumps it up. There's a bunch of those. There's like that. There's a night at 90s hardcore, which is one of the dudes from Peterborough.
Oh, I was going to say, I think
there's a couple with
there's a 90s hardcore one that Andy from Area Effect.
Has he got one on the go?
Andy Goddard's got one of them. Yeah. Because he had a stack of old photos.
Yeah.
And he was just like flooding it with just like his Knuckle Dust played 1 million gigs.
Yeah.
And
here's everybody from that time and era.
Yeah. So that was was it Blue Note?
Yeah, Blue Note. So Blue Note was the name that they kind of got Swing Kids back together under, if that makes sense. So they were touring.
To avoid legalities.
I think so. And I guess it might have been a nod to the idea that there was like an important member of Swing Kids missing in Eric Allen, who wasn't around, who wasn't with us, them anymore. So maybe it was that, like, we're not Swing Kids because he's not here, but we're Blue Note. And we'll play, playing the songs of Swing Kids. But yeah, that was that was the last crossover between the punk life era.
Yours.
Yeah. And then hospitality life by way of me owning a business, because that gig that I put on was about 3 months after I opened Laynes.
Oh, Jesus.
So I was like...
dead.
Bollocks skint. Like 90-hour weeks, dead on my feet. But I wanted... It was like Swing Kids, one of my favourite bands ever. Swing Kids. I was like, I got to book it. And then it was great. Got the chance, loved it. Lost 400 quid on the gig. I was already like so skint because everything that I had was going into the shop.
Hell of a guarantee.
Yeah, I don't.
That's one of them like holiday things.
I think it was like a. I mean, I don't know. I don't recall. It was whatever years ago, wasn't it? For 13 years. Yeah. But I think it must have been about a £900,000 guarantee or something.
Fucking hell.
And I was in my head at the time. I was like, "Swing Kids, everybody, like punk kids, hardcore kids, like the art kind of kids, like everyone Swing Kids."
I wasn't even into them back then. It's weird. It's like they were a band that somehow passed me by. But I think it's also that thing where I was talking to somebody else recently, where I was saying that bands like Cave In, Beyond Hypothermia, it was so beyond the pale what the fuck when that dropped. I remember going around to Sheep's house because he had a copy on CD, and like just looking forward to just putting that CD on and listen. Just can you imagine like wanting to go to a pal's house to listen to an album?
Mate,
it beggars belief compared to now. For
what,
just you can have everything.
Exactly, but like what formative years they were, and how important those things are, because like those sorts of bonds of finding those sorts of records, or you booking my band in Swansea, and that's why we're sat here having a chat now.
Yeah,
I think because we had to go get it a little bit more, I think you form better bonds, relationships maybe.
Oh yeah,
I don't like, maybe that's like not paying attention to what the kids have going on now, but like I've always enjoyed that we were the last of that era, you know what I mean, to like we had to go and get it a little bit more.
Yeah,
it was a little bit more. Yeah, that's I had to like, you found us, we found you, and you know, you had to go around your mate's house to put a CD on. You know what I mean? A bit more legwork.
Well, let's give that some context then. So back in the day, I was in Cardiff putting on hardcore gigs. You were in Harrogate. Good grief. No, not I'm
Harrogate.
stuck in Yorkshire mode.
Yeah. I'm from Hereford.
Yeah. Born and raised?
Born and raised in Hereford,
okay.
Yeah. Sort of like, very much so.
How would you describe Hereford?
It's like, around the edge of it, it's beautiful. It's like, it's converted barns, it's rural bliss, and it's quite posh. In the city, which is where I'm from, sort of like...
So it's a city, not a town?
Yeah, it's a city, not a town.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's got a cathedral and all that stuff. It's an old city. In the city, it's a little bit ragged. It's a bit rough. Like, it's always like... It's such a collision of people because, like, at school... not at school so much, but at college, I remember that's where I first met posh people.
Oh, okay.
Because they'd come in from, like, these small little beautiful villages and towns around the edge. But Hereford itself is a little bit more rough and ragged.
I was going to say, you were never a knobhead, but you felt like you could be a bit handy.
It
was probably more nature than sort of...
Yeah, like, you know...
Nurture than nature, sorry.
Yeah, like, you know, like, I didn't grow up on a council estate. Dad did. My dad is council estate, born and raised sort of thing. But I grew up on an estate, and it was... And by the time I was sort of 13, the alternative... So 13 for me was 1993, 92, 93. So like it's the Nirvana time.
Yeah.
So alternative and like the opening of the punk rock door had already started, but on the estate I looked a bit weird. So I'm just getting like getting all this, but I've always been one to give it right back. But I'm not a big lad. No. So yeah, I got a little handy, you know, and that's sort of. Like, we won't get too into, but that's also why I left.
Okay.
Because I was getting handy too often.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But then whilst you were there, hooked up with Heath and Sam.
Heath and Sam, Heath from Bradford. Yeah, from Bradford. So they're northern.
Oh, okay.
That's always been my tie-in.
So
he's very much from Bradford. A Leeds fan from Bradford.
I knew he was northern, but I didn't know specifically.
Yeah. So he's from Bradford. And then Sam was from Rochdale, I believe, from over there. So they were my first real tie-in to the kind of like northern scene of your 1 in 12s and the Star and Garter at Manchester. They moved to Hereford, or just outside of it, actually.
Sam was the teacher, wasn't she?
Sam was teaching, so I guess she must have transferred her job down. I don't recall exactly. But Heath had made the move down because Stamping Ground was from... a town about 20 minutes away from Hereford. Ledbury.
Yeah. Do you know what? It's weird.
Weird little place.
It is fully weird that I haven't thought about any of this shit before. Was the drummer's name Sam also?
I don't recall. Oh, right. In the band I was in. Yeah. So it was Sam on drums, Sam on bass, me on guitar, and then Heath on vocals.
Yeah.
And that whole... We were called All Is Lost while I was in band. I ended up leaving that band and they became Silent Season and then went on to like do a bunch of stuff. But... the whole idea was, what I was trying to do in my head was a band that was Indecision crossed with Snapcase crossed with Boy Sets Fire at the time. That's what I was in my head.
Yeah.
Because it was 1998.
I can hear that in the sound though, because it's like it had that kind of driving minimalist riff-driven kind of Snapcasey lo-fi thing.
I really enjoyed that band when it was good. It was great.
I think I got the demo tape somewhere. I've been digging out fuckloads of stuff earlier. I've got...
It'll be funny to hear that now.
Got a bunch of
wowzers.
All the stickers as well. Also, speaking of Indecision, I think we got this little copies for you. I think we got that sticker player
Wait.
On the way to Indecision in Birmingham.
You know when you look at someone and just like, oh, well, here we go. We're on a trip, like, but you're on like a little memory trip, mad. Indecision, where were it?
We went to see him in Birmingham, I seem to remember.
Something in Dudley it was.
TJ's?
Was that the one with TJ's where they supported Sick of It All? Or was that another one?
No, it was, they were headlining that
right,
one,
okay. The first time I saw Indecision, they were supporting Sick of It All, and that was just something. I was like 18 at the time, and I was like, oh shit, this is it. Found it.
Yeah.
Here we go. Now we're doing it. But, mate, that's
Indecision
so funny.
were a hell of a band, though.
What a band.
That lad's gone into politics now.
Yeah. He's a governor in Brooklyn where he is. Weirdly, I ended up on his mailing list. I don't recall signing up on it. GDPR, come on. but somehow, I guess through that little world of whatevers, I ended up on it. So I've like kind of followed his little trip. And it's cool. I like it when people use those formative years that we sort of talked about and go and do something and like create. Or
there are some people that just like, you can see it's in their DNA that they're
gonna do something, aren't they? Yeah, for sure.
It's just some people's entire being though. Some people can kind of go a bit too far with it, but
of course, it
is what it is. But we had hooked up because I think McKee would have been the person. McKee will have known of Heath and connected 100%. That dot. I think Public Disturbance will have played with you guys, and I was pals with PD, so I think I will have come across to Hereford, met up with you guys.
We booked PD, Public Disturbance, we booked them at Hereford United's football ground. They had a function room at Hereford United. Is that it?
I think that might be
it. How do you have that?
Dude, I've got fucking everything.
Legends, Hereford FC.
Yeah. I remember pulling up to that fucking, was it a football or rugby club?
Football club. Yeah, football ground. Because obviously I'd grown up going to the football there, and then I was putting on punk gigs there. I'm like, this is just wild. Like.
Well, I remember there were loads of, in Bridgend as well, Bridgend Football Club. They had a period where Johnny Phillips, do you ever know that?
Yeah.
Because he then went on to do, was it SJM, the big group?
Yeah. He went on to do much bigger stuff.
But he'd started off his thing down in Bridgend with the whole like sort of the fledgling scene that happened there.
Right.
And I just remember suddenly there were just all of these huge gigs at Bridgend Football Club, and there would be like hundreds of kids to
love that.
Do you remember Shockwave?
Oh yeah.
Transformer themed hardcore.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely sick.
That was somewhere else. That were.
They might have been vegan straight edge as well, but they were also Christian.
They were Christian vegan straight edge band, metalcore with Transformers influenced imagery
and samples.
You're really ticking some boxes and samples.
It's niche as fuck. But I love it when back then you could like sort of. The genre descriptives, like you could say that something is vegan straight edge, and it literally you can hear what
you know what it's going to be about.
You know exactly how it's going to sound.
I'm just staring at this because it's absolutely blown my mind.
Take it, that's yours.
It describes a band that I was writing music for as Inside Out meets Undertow, which is funny because I don't recall ever hearing Undertow at that point in my life.
That sounds like
Inside Out was definitely a band that I was like.
He thought McKee possibly.
That would make sense.
Was Mike involved in that show?
I wouldn't know.
Mike from Lost Prophets and Sean used to do gigs and stuff, DJ nights under the mantle of Set It Off 2000.
Maybe it was something to do with them then, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know what the crossover is, but it would have been Heath pulling those strings.
Yeah. So basically, we then had that connection.
Yeah.
And from there, there were, I guess, further gigs, and as you say, we just sort of.
That's how it starts, though, isn't it? And especially then, you kind of like. And also being from Hereford, where there wasn't much of anything going on like that. We were trying to build something, create something, but we had to like hold on to those that were somewhere near us. Hereford is geographically quite isolated, really.
Oh, yeah.
You've got Birmingham an hour and a half-ish one way, and then Bristol the same amount the next way, but like there's nothing else there.
Yeah.
So if you having that kind of South Wales scene down there, it was like, they're close enough.
Yes.
And also my mum's family were all Welsh, and we used to go down Swansea for holidays every year.
Oh, nice.
So like I knew where it was, sort of thing. I knew where you were. So I was like, God, like hold on to them lot.
Oh yeah.
But there was a bit of back and forth for a little while, wasn't there, sort of thing?
Yeah, and I guess it's that thing, as you say, like, because in a situation where like there's just no one, as you say, and it's such a small thing anyway, hardcore-wise, back in, people don't appreciate that, like, as a genre, it may be as big as it is now, like, where like sort of bands play big metal festivals.
I went to Outbreak a couple of years ago, just stood there like,
I can't do that. It's
it
insane.
arrived, like, and I had a great time, but it was anybody of our sort of age would have been stood there, I'm sure, if they were going to shows, let's say 97-ish
no
to
chance.
2000.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. Like, this is the European.
I was going to say, I remember going to
UK
when you'd go to like Ypres or something like that, Ypres Fest in Belgium, and you'd be like, how are there this many people that are into hardcore?
Yeah.
And it would just be bizarre. But so like we would, the point I was making was that like with it being such a small niche thing, when you find somebody that is into that thing, we would all like, it would be suddenly a network would arrive of just like this, just a handful of people across the UK that you knew. So like, for example, I would want to go to a gig in Birmingham, so I'd be like, right, well, if we pick up them kids in Hereford, that's more petrol money.
Exactly that.
And it's like, right, well, and also
the road
just seeing them.
Like,
seeing hardcore pals. It's like it's a different thing.
It was.
I think because it was so like ideologically driven.
Yeah, and there was that, and I do think that was part of it. By the time I got to like, because my first job out of school, I tried to go to college and I couldn't. I don't know why I even tried. Like, me and school wasn't a good combo. Like, what I've learned in adult life is I love to learn, but I couldn't. Me and the school system wasn't working. Whereas, like my partner talks a lot about that. The school system. Oh, go for it. Yes, like, she just worked really well with the school system and did really well at school.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't work with it. So by the time I got to that kind of 17-ish, out of school, my first job was at McDonald's. First full-time job was in the kitchen at McDonald's.
Okay.
So that's my first hospitality job, McDonald's. But I'd started reading all sorts of stuff, all these sorts of things that I'd found out through the hardcore scene. And there was a moment like, so I was already on this kind of like, I think capitalism.
There was a definite trajectory there.
I think capitalism might be wrong. Oh shit! I was like, I think eating animals might be wrong. Oh shit! And then I'm stood there at McDonald's and I thought, oh no, oh no.
Yeah.
So I had my cause. So what I was saying is when you start thinking about these things, and you find other people who may be on the same sort of mesh. You're like, oh shit, my people. Gotta get them close, sort of thing. So.
I remember being in Cardiff and there being like, no one else was. Like, there were some vegetarian people, but no one was vegan.
No,
it
not
was like, what the fuck are you doing, pal?
Yeah, that was like crazy idea back then.
And like not drinking as well. Did you drink back in you didn't drink in All's Lost?
No, I did. I may have done at the beginning. So I stopped drinking when I was around 19-ish, I believe. There was a couple of things what had happened. One of them I'd got in it, being a bit handy.
Yeah. The fights will happen.
Yeah, they used to happen a lot in Hereford. Like, absolutely they did. But this one was like, I'd had a few drinks, and this girl was getting hiding of her life. Some lad was just doing her over. So I'd gone into like a little bit of that Dutch courage sort of notion. I'd gone in and like sorted that out, but he'd filled up a car with his mates and they'd jumped me later on. And it was after that sort of event, and I was a mess. Like, like, a mess. And I was like, I think I need to like think about this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm either on that path or I'm not, and I don't really want to be on it. So me and drinking weren't the best friends anyway. Me and hangovers have always been awful. Like, every drink is a 4-day hangover since I was young.
Yeah.
So then all these things had to line up, and then I get to 19, I kind of arrive with this ideology, I suppose, of,
well, just awareness that like you've kind of, this is an option.
Yeah.
You can actually just,
because there's still a bunch of people that I can surround myself with and socialise with that also aren't really into doing this stuff.
Exactly.
So yeah, absolutely. That was an absolute vehicle for not doing that stuff at the time. It's quite funny. You base your mates off things that you don't do.
Speaking of which.
Yeah. Cheers.
So
yeah, this is a good one. I've got a bottle of this myself at home. Oh, it is good though.
Yeah.
Oh, Boilermaker. So yeah, those were those, and that's how, as I say, like, we've come to be sat here now, which is a long 25 years. I bet you it's 25, or no, it'd be more than that now, 26-ish years since those gigs, or that out there.
Yeah.
No, maybe a little less. 25-ish. I don't
know. It's these moments you realise just how old you are.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of that going on lately.
So after All Is Lost.
Was
it up to Stoke for uni?
So yeah, I thought I'd have another go again.
Attempt at academia.
Academia, because I wanted to learn. I liked learning, and I was getting in trouble.
Yeah,
sort of like put those things together, and I thought, I'll go back to college. I went back to art college, and then that got me onto a course at Staffordshire Uni. So I made a move to Stoke.
Okay.
So when I got to there, I only lasted like 8 months. I tried.
Oh, really?
I couldn't do it.
This is what I love doing this show, is like just filling in the blanks of pals for just those little things. Because obviously I knew you were down there because I brought over a band from Germany one time.
Drowning Frustration.
Love
them guys.
You put them on.
And what I didn't know was a notorious white power biker bar. Didn't know.
Okay.
Didn't know. It was years later because I started, a little while later. Because by the time, because I had not lived there very long. So we talked, again, the network had come around. I've got this band from, I think you were like they're like the German Unbroken. I'm like, fuck it, I'm all in. So what more do you need? So I found a venue called The Rigger and then booked them there. I definitely got stung on the take by like these like blokes. I was like, don't think I can really start giving it all this. But they definitely sort of like, one for you, three for me sort of thing. And so be it. But then while I was there, I started to get to know like the guys in like Spy vs. Spy a little bit, and like Binhead and Mark and a few of those. And they were like, ages later we were chatting, they were like, I must have mentioned that gig. I'm like, how did you book that? I'm like, yeah, that was me. I'm like, just thought I'd have a go. And they're like, we couldn't work out who the hell was booking a hardcore band in this bar. I was like, yeah, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know anyone else. They're like, sketchy bar is that, mate? Like, we were a bit like, should we go or not, sort of thing. But we wanted to go, and it was all to do with these biker crew.
Did I go to that gig?
I don't recall.
I remember being in Stoke.
You must have been. You must have gone.
I remember there was a random weird girl hanger on her.
Oh, I mean, sorry to say, there's been a load of those over here.
Yeah.
Weird hanger-oners of any sort of like persuasion have always been there.
It was the only thing that's like making me remember being in Stoke. So I remember being in the van and just trying to get rid of this girl in the van.
Oh, bless. Hope she's okay.
It was always the thing. We'd always like, I remember bringing over a couple of bands from Austria in 2000, and like they just like in London they ended up just hooking up with some Japanese tourists, I think.
Okay.
It was. I remember having to like track down the bass player because he'd like just holed up in a hotel or something. And
love it.
Yeah, but it's the fun of tour.
The fun of tour. As well, I found out later on in life when I did that for a full-time job.
Which we'll get to.
Yeah, that was
so. You attempted uni?
I had a go.
Was it college or uni?
It was that was university. Okay. That was Staffordshire University, and I was like, here we go.
Yeah.
And that was to study what you would now consider web design. Then it was called interactive digital media design.
Yeah, I forget all of the bloody names they used to call it, like
but it was web design, but
interactive media and things.
Exactly that. So I thought
multimedia, that was a big one.
Yeah, digital multimedia interactive design, websites basically.
Yeah.
But again, just like I wanted to learn, but I just can't. I don't have like, I can't stay still.
Yeah.
I think like, again, I talk about this with my partner, who's a therapist. Like, I think there probably would have been a diagnosis if I was born 20 years later or something like that. I don't like. I'm not going to
No, self-diagnosing, obviously,
I'm not going to do that. I wouldn't never do that. But
I think there's enough awareness these days now that we can kind of spot the patterns and be like, I might be a bit of the tism.
Yeah. So, and I just can't do it. I want to learn and I want the information, but I just cannot and then I don't like. So I ended up leaving Stoke and then was pretty much living in Leeds, really, in a couch surfy kind of manner, even while I was on this course in Stoke. So what I did do is transfer my course to college in Leeds, and I use that as a vehicle to get me in Leeds properly.
Okay.
So I ended up going to college in Leeds and continuing with a degree study, but at college. But I was in a band not long after I moved here, whose drummer was a web designer. So this is where my mum's not allowed to listen to this. I'd get the brief and give it to him.
Yeah.
He'd do it, and then I'd hand it in.
Very nice.
Well,
by any means.
It got me through.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. I knew by then that wasn't going to be what I did. You know what I mean? That wasn't going to be the career choice.
Yeah.
But I did do that, which is like naughty, but also what I learned was management and delegation, which has become absolutely invaluable.
Transferable skill sets.
Exactly.
It's all about
that I refined my delegation and management skills. That's what I look back on. That was 2 years of that.
So what year would that have been?
2001. 2000. I moved to 2000.
We almost lived together.
Yeah.
Pear-shaped.
Because there was some stuff.
But it was all good in the end.
Yeah, it was all worked out just fine.
And then you ended
up... again, we're just on my whole memory trip just for that even, Alex Gunn.
Yeah.
The Xandor was involved in that mix.
Yeah. Excellent dude. I haven't seen him in forever.
Same, likewise.
Then you eventually moved in with Sarah.
I did, Autumn Grove. Autumn Grove, the Naughties as they were called, the Autumns.
Yeah, that was fucking sketchy. It still is.
Yeah, mate. I don't know how it is now over there, but it was something else. I had 2 attempted break-ins.
I remember the gun
one
thing.
One while I was sat there. Yeah, a 48-hour hostage crisis with samurai sword, a gas mains and a gun.
Yeah, he was a nice guy though.
He was sound, but he was a bit...
But he got pushed a bit far.
Yeah.
I think it was...
Fair enough. Them lads that upset him were upsetting everybody. That was just a dead noisy house.
Yeah.
And he ended up taking one hostage, pulling out a samurai sword, and then had a gun. And I was like, you could have just banged on the wall, mate.
Was it you or was it Sarah? I remember somebody saying that they'd gotten in from work and they were looking out the window and they were super tired and there were these armed police waving them down and they just waved back at them.
Mate, I remember there being a bang on the door, me going down and me being like, it's like 2 a.m. Like what's going on? I open that, it's just a lad full riot gear. Evacuate, you must leave. I'm like, okay. I don't even recall where I went. Might have gone to my brother's. Because our gym was here at that time. May have gone to them. So yeah, Autumn Grove. What a time.
That's worth
2 burnout cars. I didn't drive at the time, so I didn't have a car, but 2 burnouts on the road. Good time.
So yeah, your brother as well. That's worth jumping into. So Jim, I fucking love Jim.
Jim's the popular one of the two.
As much as you were very much Mr. Cool, Mr. Pretty Boy in the band, Mr. Guitarist in the hip band. Jim always felt like when I first met him in the late 90s, he kind of felt like the underdog to the Dave show. I would say that's what it was. As the outsider to your scenario, I think that's...
Sure.
And what I loved was that when he moved to Leeds, it really felt like he kind of really came into his own.
I was going to say that if that were the case when we first met, that might be the fact that I was 19, 20, an adult, and Jim was 15,
just that couple of years
16.
Young. Oh, okay, yeah.
So when I'm out there finding out all this stuff and meeting people like you and... and Sheep, to mention Sheep for the second time, meeting Sheep at a Shai Hulud show at Star and Garter in 1999 or whatever it was.
Yeah. I went to the London show at that too.
Yeah, so Jim's out there doing the same, but he's a child, or if he's 15, 16 years old. So by the time he's come up to Leeds, he's now sort of 19 and 20. So yeah, you're right. Then he's like, here we go. Then he's doing his thing. And then he went on to have bands and stuff and do bands as well, sort of thing. So.
Yeah, I remember. I remember chatting with him about just vocal practice techniques and things.
Really?
When he was first kind of getting his growl on, and I had a few sort of ideas as to how to kind of strengthen your voice a bit.
Okay.
But what bands was he in? So
the Versus Project was his main band. And talking of vocal techniques, I remember trying to do backup vocals for that band, and that fucking kid has never laughed as much as me trying to do metal vocals. I can't do it.
Yeah.
I just remember trying to do these backing vocals, and he was just pissed his pants laughing. Right, I'm not doing it. So the Versus Project was something that he did. He played bass in a couple of bands.
Okay.
Sort of post Spitfire Down, if you remember that.
Oh yeah.
This is where I'm going to look like a bit of an asshole because I don't remember what they were called. But he did. But I feel like
Gin?
the Versus Project. No, it was another one. He also did a 30 Seconds Until Armageddon reunion set with us.
Did he?
Yeah.
I didn't realise that.
Yeah.
On vocals?
Yeah.
Instead of Lynn?
Yeah. That's a whole story.
That's a dream fucking... Give it to me.
What a gig. Well, it was February. We decided to... I don't know if we were going to give it another go. But we certainly had put the idea of a bit of a reunion show back together and people had shouted for it. So we thought, we'll do it. And then, I get on with Linz. Linz is, we're fine, we're good, we're great.
Yeah.
But, that 30 Seconds had a whole album written, ready to go into the studio and record.
Mode?
Pardon?
God Mode?
Yeah, no, God Mode ended up being the compilation that we put together, everything recorded. There were going to be a whole record that we'd written. There was an album ready to roll.
And that was it going to be on Good Life?
I think that might have been, what was the one that, Johnny Truant and those sorts of bands being on Beecher. What band was that?
Calculated Risk.
So I think we've been chatting to them.
Okay, yeah. So, that's Ives.
Yeah. Martin, who was sound, again, a guy I haven't spoken to in ages, but was just so sound back then. I believe Calculated Risk was going to be put out, and I don't know, it just fell apart. But my recollection is that there was no vocals or lyrics ready to go, and it was like 3 days till we were meant to record or something.
Oh shit.
So it kind of went down the Swanee bit like that. And then when this reunion thing happened, it was a little bit the same. Everyone's all in, and then Laynes was like not in.
Okay.
So we were like, well, it's booked, so come on, Jim, up you get. So all of a sudden he just tears off his shirt.
Oh shit.
He's got a Dead Guy t-shirt on underneath, ready to roll. And we did it. But we did it in February of whatever year it was, I don't recall. But it was that February where just snow. It was just so much snow. That's all I recall.
Yeah.
So we did it at the well, Joseph's Well, as it was.
Yeah.
And there was like not that many people there, and just about 150 people like, really sorry, can't get out of the house, kind of because of the snow. But yeah, there was one reunion show with Jim on vocals for 30 seconds. Quite funny when you think about it, isn't it?
Yeah. I used to fucking love seeing him on stage.
He was so good. Well, like I say, was great.
I think it's that thing of having seen the journey of a person, and
yeah,
just like seeing Jim as the front man and being like sort of the popular kid in the cool band. It was a beautiful thing for me.
Yeah, man. And the Versus Project was like that was one of those bands. Like I was in that band briefly, but they should have
taken over the fucking world.
They should have gone somewhere.
Did they or you? Were you on the Snapcase tour?
I worked a Snapcase tour with the band The Rise was supporting.
Oh yeah.
So if you remember that.
Yeah, because Jimmy used to work with The Rise, didn't
Jimmy
he?
used to do like a load of work with The Rise, yeah. Jimmy, who's now like a super famous DJ. I don't have any reference for it.
I'm trying to think on anything of his. I can't think of his handle or any project
Jimmy
names.
Ross, like at the moment he's writing a record with a couple of dudes from Ride, or Andy Bell from Ride, which is like an old shoegaze band who are amazing. Like I love Ride.
Are they like one of those sorts of prodigal?
Yeah, Ride is Ride. A couple of them went on to do they were in a final lineup of Oasis, I think towards the end of Oasis, but they were a bit more like that kind of 90s shoegaze world.
Okay.
And Jimmy's currently doing a project with Andy Bell. I think it's Andy Bell. I bet it'd be Andy Bell now. I've said it. Of Ride. So he's still in that guitar world.
Okay, I remember
big time. But he's very much also a DJ.
Ben at BP.
Yeah.
Had mentioned a long time ago, a couple of years ago, about Jimmy had been sending him tracks for a potential thing.
Yeah, there's bands. I talked to Jimmy every now and again. There's a little somewhat. The thing with Jimmy is he's an incredible musician. Like he studied music, he does music.
Yes, yeah.
He does a lot of remixes. There's a lot of B-side remix stuff out there in the world that like people don't know is him, but it's him. Like he's really good. For all I know, and we know, I think he's probably writing jingles for adverts as well, and probably doing really well. But he's just an absolute.
I think once you've kind of proven your bones in that respect, the industry taking the notes.
Yeah.
Like what's that lad? Dan does the BBC Radio Rock show.
Oh, I know who you mean.
Yeah.
He comes from the same sort of world.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Carter.
Dan Carter.
Is he one of the Carter kids from Gallows?
I don't know, but I don't think so. No. But he had a just big tie-in with Gallows at the time.
Yeah.
Like he propped him up like real big.
I was going to say he then had like a hand in songwriting on like Busted and type shit.
Is it
like
really?
That. I think.
There you go.
What was the band? The next one on from Busted that was like slightly softer.
McFly.
Yeah. I think he.
Good. It's good I know that. It's good I know that.
Hardcore kid.
Yeah, McFly.
I'm fairly certain Dan wrote a bunch of stuff with or for McFly, if not Busted. But yeah, so it's that thing of just you never know what these people are fucking putting out into that.
But yeah, Jimmy, that band, the Versus Project, was so. If you're into metal and metal core as well, this is the kind of more the Swedish or At the Gates kind of style of metal. I thought they were so good. I don't really like metal. I'm not a metal kid.
Okay.
I was sort of brought up on punk.
Yeah.
And like I like punk hardcore. That's more my thing. And like or goth. That was my thing before, and then it was hardcore, and I was back to the goth thing. So yeah, for them to be a metal band, I was like, they need to like go, because Jimmy's just like shredding.
They were just ridiculously
good.
They
were so good.
Do you know what? Just quickly, I'm going to jump in. Ben Palmer, what the fuck is he? Apparently he's in Amsterdam. He fell over.
He did.
He fell off a horse.
Mate, I spoke to him when he was in the airport about to fly to Amsterdam.
Yeah.
He was 6 or 7 deep when I spoke to him.
Yeah.
I was like, who are you with? Who's your safety guy?
I think it's his lass, and I can't
but he's fallen
imagine.
off an horse.
Yeah, he's broken 8 ribs, but he's...
Oh, you're joking me.
Let's give the full report. 6 have 1 crack in, 2 have 3 cracks in, everything is fine. Okay, there we go.
If I was to look at my messages that I sent to him, the last one I'm sure says, be careful. Take care.
I literally said that to him as well. I think I'm going to scroll back and say, because the last time he went there, he got stung by a taxi driver. He wanted to we'll save that story, why he was going with a taxi driver. But I said to him, got any fun stories or questions for Daveo? And
What did he say?
He sent me a bunch of shit, so let's just fire off.
Because he played drums in the band that we're chatting about. So,
Shackle Me Not, what's that about?
Shackle Me Not. That was a band that I tried to fight in London. Not quite so much, no, but I was really upset with them, and I was trying to be, best behaviour, because that was when I was in the Versus project. So due to the unfortunate passing of a member of that band, who was a mate of ours, I kind of ended up playing bass, then guitar. I think I might have done both over the course of, I think. And we'd gone down to London to play with Undying.
Sick.
Pretty sure we played with Undying. Talk about that.
Talk about vegan straight edge
in
metal.
it, yeah. And then this band, Shackle Me Not, which we thought was the fucking funniest band name. We wanted pirates to show up. We wanted pirates, but we didn't get pirates. But I remember they were like this professional. They were opening the show. It was a hardcore show, really. Maybe 120 were going to show up. Nobody, I don't think, was ever Shackle Me Not, but they had a tour manager, even though they were from like Hertfordshire or something like that, and like they had like a representative with them. They were this kind of like unit.
Big floating,
they were trying to be a unit. So we overstepped our sound check period, so they pulled all of our power cables out, which is like piss poor. I just remember being a bit upset by that. But then what we did was then just mock them the whole night. And so Ben's in full flight, like
I can only imagine.
Me not, so good time.
Telling
Underworld.
Kirk Hammond to fuck off.
Oh, so
who's Kirk Hammond?
Kirk Hammett, he means, of Metallica. A little band called Metallica.
Not Kirk Hammond.
Well, I don't think I told him to fuck off, but I just did a bit of a just fucking stop like that or something like that. So this is when I sort of dip into my touring days where I've worked on tour as a guitar tech. I was taking a band called Mastodon, who were like a metal band, and we were playing with Metallica. And as far as I can recall, I've got like a guitar change coming up, and it's a huge show. We're playing with Metallica. I think it might have been in Greece at like the Olympic Stadium or something. So it's like massive.
Yeah.
Like my job is so minimum, but if I get it wrong, it's all wrong. And I've got a guitar change coming up. And I remember, this is where I'll go back into it. It's a guitar at an outdoor festival, and it's got a Bigsby tremolo arm. So it's got like this bit on it that moves.
Yeah.
And in the outdoors, it's a bit of a nightmare to try and keep in tune. And I remember getting ready to do this guitar change, and I'm like sweating out, but like, oh God, don't fuck it up. And then somebody's like, hey man, what song is this? This song's so awesome. What's that? And I'm like hearing it, I'm like, ignore it. They'll fuck off in a minute. And then I turned around, I was like, mate, you need to stop. I was like, and it's Kirk from...
Kirk from... Not Kurt.
Does he say Kurt?
Kurt.
Kurt
Hammond.
There you go. Bless him. He's got broken ribs.
He's got broken ribs. We'll give him that.
Me telling him to get bent pretty much, thinking, we're about to get kicked off the tour. Nice one. I've ruined it all.
We got another one here, outside Walls of Jericho house show at Sheep's House, which I'm going to skip over.
What does that go on to? That was a good do.
Apparently you dropped someone. Free shop via?
So the free shop.
Oh, is this just what the bad lads taught us to do?
What's that?
The Grimsby kids telling us to go on the rob.
Well, it was a little bit on the rob.
Okay.
And I sort of know the owners of this company now, which is weird. So we used to practice.
We can skip over if you like.
No, who gives a shit?
We're having a drink. Fuck it.
This is when we used to practice in a room above what used to be Out of Step, which is a shop that needs work. That should be mentioned. Talk about a network. Me coming up and going to the 1 in 12, and then going over to Out of Step, and having a Cadder's sandwich from the next door thing.
Oh yeah.
That was like absolute bliss for me as a 19, 20-year-old sort of lad. We found out that a charity, that one of those, not a charity shop, but one of those clothing companies that buys in loads of stuff. Who's that?
It's fucking BP.
Have you heard it, Sam?
Alright, the boys.
Hey, hey.
How are we getting on? Hang on, let me just the kids are on PlayStation. Let me just get upstairs.
I'm going to leave it now, Paul. But I just thought I'd quickly get you on here. Thanks for the questions, fella.
Oh, mate, yeah,
Free shop, Benny. Free shop.
And having you both.
We're
so close in life, and yeah, I just love the fucking bones off you. So that's that.
I've
sent you the photos about me back.
I've seen I've seen the photos, pal.
Right, yeah.
We're gonna crack on because we're still doing the interview, but it's get me.
Oh shit! Hang on, I didn't know you had me on the thing. All right. See me now.
I can see you now, pal. We're just going in free. We're just going into the free shop. Free shop via now.
Do you remember free shop, Ben?
Free shop. We're just going into that now, so I'm going to leave you to it. I'll speak to you soon.
Show me that Dave's face.
Dave's face, what there?
There he is.
Yeah, love.
Right, I'll catch you later, love.
Alright, I love you. Have a good day, yeah?
Love you, pal. We need you on the show soon. Get to Leeds, fella.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
That's somebody you need on this show.
Yeah.
Alright, I love you guys.
Love you, pal.
Yeah?
Love you, bye.
See ya.
See you in a bit. Bye-bye.
So yeah, being in a band with him was an absolute treat.
Ben is...
I can't imagine working a bar with him. I've never worked a bar with him, but I've been in a band with him, and that is
it's a fun one.
It's a fun one.
I'd say he was always kept in place in District because it was always so crazy there. But when it was quieter there,
he could open up and he could bloom.
I remember stories of him, like I think him and another, will not mention his name, but I think they were doing ketamine, and then they. When a customer came in, they just hid behind the bar when a customer came in because they were scared.
Benny lad.
But yeah, sorry.
Clitheroe has him now.
Free shop.
Free shop was it's one of those. It's quite a big name company that they buy in loads of second-hand clothes and then they resell it for like a massively inflated price. We found out that that the one of the storage units for this shop was one of these back rooms above Outer Step. So we used to call it free shop. So we'd practice on a Thursday night or something. And quick little dip into free shop, see what's going. Come out with some lovely Adidas shorts from the 1970s sort of thing, and then crack on with it. So yeah, free shop was a thing. I feel like Ben probably dressed himself out of that free shop for about 10 years. To be honest with you,
that's fantastic.
It was a good do. Free shop. Yeah, man, that's one. Out of Step. Let's go above that.
Out of Step. Let's go into that one. I mean, Out of Step. So skate and punk shop run by Steve Stewart and Jimmy Beale.
Yeah, and Lecky.
And Lecky, yeah, obviously. Sorry, Out of Spite.
Out of Spite.
Out of Step. Sorry.
Out of Step. Sorry, Out of Spite is somewhere else. Also important.
Out
of Step, and then Wisdom was the skate shop.
Wisdom, that was it. Yeah.
So yeah, and then Lecky now does Boom.
Yes.
Obviously, really important in this world that we're talking about.
The finest of punk venues.
100%.
Have you been to the new spot in Armley?
No, I've not.
There's a practice room up there.
Yeah, I've not, but I'm aware of it, sort of thing.
Oh, with there, Ben's ringing us. Oh no, Ben's
accidental pocket dial.
He said, "Oh God, why have I got a picture of his ass?"
It's because you deserve it.
Yeah, it's the joys of Ben Palmer.
Love him to death.
Sorry, we were saying something before he.
So yeah,
Out of Step.
The
practice space in Armley, Damaged Goods.
That's all. Yeah.
So it's practice space, but they've been putting on.
There's been gigs in there as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Real sort of like ask a punk to find it sort of thing.
Good.
I like it. I'm thinking of putting on, getting back into the.
Do it.
Yeah.
I like to talk about that for a moment. I'm desperate to do something again within that world. Like
band
I feel like
promotion?
I feel like I've got another band in me. Talk about it all the time, sort of thing.
I was going to ask about that.
I want it, but I'm also have the fear of being a 44-year-old bloke on stage trying to play punk music. And like, what does that look like?
As a guitarist, it's okay. I'd say, as a guitarist, you're fine. If you're a vocalist, it's a fine line.
You need to find a 20-something vocalist.
And a drummer.
Yeah, the eternal quest.
Oh God, yeah. No, you've got to find a kid for that. Me and Ben have been talking about doing something.
But I think we should, especially like to get into this for a moment. Everybody thinks of like hardcore punk as a youth movement, but really that's like bullshit. Because all those hardcore bands that we grew up listening to, they're still playing in hardcore bands. So what's youth movement about the fact that there's a bunch of 50-year-olds still forming and playing in hardcore bands? Like, it was only a youth movement in the 80s because those originators were still youths.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, you look at, like, I don't know, obvious ones like your Ray Kappas and all that, they're still playing.
Yeah.
So it's not a youth movement. Actually, you get into it in your youth, and it really sticks with you, and you keep doing it. And I like that, and I want to be able to be a part of that. I want to keep doing it, sort of thing.
We had a chat with Mr. Frank Turner recently, and what came up in that was, so I think he was loving the whole how we all kind of taught each other and learned our lessons. What I was kind of putting across though was that there was always that like older brother element, and there were always the older kids. So it wasn't like it was, as you say, it wasn't. It does have that connotation for the kids, down with the kids, all of these sort of vernacular, like, you know, when the language is loaded with that, it can kind of corrupt the culture aspect of you feeling like it isn't for the oldies.
But it is, I think.
It literally always has been, and it's always, but I would go one further and say that it was always the older folk that, like, literally facilitated fucking everything.
Exactly.
Like
we were talking about that gig there, that was Heath, and Heath would have been older at the time, sort of thing. He wasn't a youth. I were a youth.
Do you remember Protag from 1 in 12? So like Protag, he sadly passed away a few years ago, but like he was one of the elders of the sort of the Leeds, West Yorkshire scene, and the scene is riddled with like sort of snares. You've got Russ Schnell literally lives at the end of my street.
Still at the end of the street.
Still at the end of the street. We're going to do a show with him soon with some vinyl, a new show I'm going to launch.
Nice. But Sned is like, for some reason, Sned has come back on my radar by way of, it was like, I think somebody posted up a bunch of photos when he was younger, sort of thing.
I saw some pictures of him out recently. Yeah.
And it's like, there you go. It's not a youth movement.
No.
You might get into it in your youth, but I don't think like that mindset and that drive should be a part of youth. And also, again, from conversations with my partner, I was at my most sort of leveled out during those years because I think I had that outlet to kind of go and shout and jump and rage. But it's also like a platform of some sort, or I was hearing things that I was like, fucking hell, I think like that as well.
To contradict myself though, there is also that aspect of when you're younger, there is that much more free time, but also
my god, like adult life,
but also the energy levels.
When my back's in good shape, I've got the energy. It's just my back holds me back.
Just thinking about going like having like say it's Wednesday night and you've got to go to band practice, and the amount of times it's just like I can't.
Honestly, it's mad, isn't it? Like you want. Your head's saying go, but your body's like, well, you could lie down though. You could go to bed.
Especially if you've been working all day, and it's just that.
And there is that, and like adult life is different. But I do think like me having that outlook when I was in my late teens and 20s saved me from a load of extra bother that I could have got into.
I could talk for days on, because you know what it was like in the Leeds thing, that like it was literally our lives.
That's
like we've got some of the flyers.
100%.
Like there's
like it was geared around, everything was geared around it.
So
House lights,
for example, House Collective.
Did I do that one? Me and my mates that were doing
House Collectives. That's the point.
I thought we booked that because somebody mentioned that band recently.
I think there's another House Collective gig in there, but
Bane would have come under that. Because that was like the first one I think we did.
The point was that like it was
me on band.
People that you lived with were like also kind of intimately connected to everything else in your life, and that like even if they weren't, like you just wander down the street and like the rail kids live down the road. And I would, like when I first moved to Leeds, finding the like Hastwell. Hastwell and Beard living on Cardigan Road.
Exactly.
And I basically just adopted their couch. And
these are all people that I still hang about with today. I think that's important. That's what I mean by we formed those things back then.
Because Hastwell also in coffee. It's weird. It's just
Who, in one sense, not so much now, but at first worked my brother Jim's old job.
Okay.
So Jim left what was his job at the time, and then Hastwell had that job. So like we're even connected through our working lives as well as everything that came before. But yeah,
what we're going to do, right? So we're going to carry on chatting because we've also got a shitload of beers. Actually, do you know, is that? I'm trying to. Oh yeah, that is. Yeah, we got added.
You're on that one.
Yeah, we got added.
In the event of near Tokyo.
I remember. I think Bestie nudged us onto that one.
Good.
So I wanted to quickly get us onto some beers.
Okay.
So we're gonna sup and we're gonna chat.
Okay.
But just so that we've got like an agenda of sorts, this is Deya's Steady Rolling Man. You're not much of a craft beer guy, are you?
No, I'll drink. The thing is, I don't like drinking. I don't get drunk. I'm not one for that. I'm just not very good at it. And that's why I'm like, all right, I've straight edge for a long time. But I'm also like, I'm not anymore. But I like really good stuff. so like the whiskey, like I've got that bottle.
The good
really
whiskey.
Good. I like a whiskey. Or like the beer, the good beer. I'll have.
So what I wanted to do, because basically, Deya's Steady Rolling Man is...
they're great. I really like that beer.
Yeah, it is fucking great. But I wanted to see how it stood up against a couple of non-alcoholics.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Is it?
There we go.
So we're going to go with, in both instances, so it's going to be a 2-on-1 attack. We've got Mash Gang on the twofer.
Big Hype.
Go up against Big Hype. Well deserved.
Yeah.
Big deserving on that one. So I reckon if we go with this is Mash Gang's Rad Gold, followed by Deya's Steady Rolling Man, followed by Mash Gang's, I believe it's the core range IPA of theirs called Chug. So this is their special fella of theirs. It's more of a limited thing. So that's kind of probably going to set the bar of, oh, that's a bit nice. And that's their straight down the line fella.
Gotcha.
That's what we're going to do. I've entirely forgotten which order mine. Steady Rolling Man.
This one's for all our brothers that are still straight edge and still holding it down.
I've tried a few of the Mash Gangs previously, and they've all been like...
They're really good, aren't they? Like they're just straight up good beers sort of thing. So.
The stupid thing is, though, it's like I've tried a lot of non-alcoholic or low ABVs, and they pretty much all taste garbage.
There you go.
It's a crazy one. So
cheers.
There we go.
The edge.
Jordan.
It's just a straight up good beer, isn't it?
Yeah. It's and for Nicole, you've got that. You haven't got that.
What order are we doing?
That, then that, then that.
Okay.
This is why I'm like, so for a little while...
There's a little bit of bitterness I'm not feeling.
For a little while, I used to work blending coffees and tasting coffees and like using my palate to be all like fancy dancy about it. I feel like COVID wrecked it. Like I'm really like gutted, Like I lost it and I don't know in my head if I'm like, I don't know if I actually don't have it all back or if just in my head I think I don't have it all back. This is why I'm really like nervous about like
saying what you think.
Yeah, especially when I did that.
Did you get that bitterness then?
Oh yeah, but especially on the back end of it, it's got like a real kind of malt sort of bitterness.
There's something to the carbonation that just it feels different in some ways. It's weird. It's hard to describe.
I like it.
Yeah,
it's
drink it.
Malty on the lead sort of thing.
Yeah,
I like it.
I didn't get that malt aspect. Oh, Nicole.
It's quite. I want to say it tastes like a really light, cold, refreshing, quick chug it back beer. If you could serve that to me and I think there was booze in it.
You get accidentally drunk.
Yeah.
Because you think it's booze.
Like a cider lolly. Well, let's see how it compares to Deya's Steady Rolling Man.
Cheers. It's fruity. It's light.
I'm not getting too much, but yeah, I think
it's because if you follow that off the one, you've got quite
you've got to give it a couple of
bit of a bitterness that's going to like cloud that sort of party palate. Whereas that's a little bit more like pleasant acidity that you get with like fruits.
Yeah.
Like your kind of mango-y acidity.
I would say that it's been in the fridge for a minute and it is in date. It is in date, but I would say that it's not going to be optimal. One of my bones of contention with the craft beer thing is that like there's this real sort of sweet spot of like so like there's you can it, it's going to taste kind of just too bitter for a whole bunch of time. Then there's going to be like maybe a 3 to 5 week period where it's just going to taste the bomb. And after that,
after you've wasted your money.
It's not that you've wasted it, but it's kind of it's like nothing really differentiates it. It's just a bit like, okay, cool. It's
a good beer. It's a nice beer.
Yeah. But I think this is just it's definitely lost its wow for being a little bit older, but that's just my fault. No
Still
shame.
a good beer.
No shame on
I've
Deya.
had plenty of their beers where I know that they're like banging. They're like really good.
Because you were partnered with New Brunswick.
Yeah.
The Sarto.
Originally when we opened Sarto, which is like a restaurant, that was a bit of a I had this idea in my head as to what I thought would make for a good restaurant, but I also had Laynes on the go. I've got a couple other things as well, and like I didn't have the energy and time to do a whole restaurant on my own. So I wanted to pull in other people that could sort of like help it along and prop it up, and I wanted a bit more of a team effort sort of thing. I don't remember where the conversation happened. It may have happened in I think it happened in Village Books, I think.
Oh, nice.
If you know Village,
yeah.
I think I was in Village, and ended up chatting, and then we were like, oh, we've had that idea. It's like, no shit, wouldn't that work? And yeah, it started as a collaborative idea.
Did they, just before we get into the Sarto thing, did they sort of sway you a bit further into the world of craft beers then, or were you already on that path of awareness?
Yeah, I'd already sort of started, as I said, because I'm not one to drink a lot. If I'm having one, I like it to be a good one.
I'm loving just going out and get a third or a half.
Yeah, and it's like a good one. I'm more of the whiskey world is my world. Scotch whiskey, that's where I ended up when I was okay, I suppose I drink now. Because it was a long time where I didn't drink. I was I'm going to drink. I want to get into some of it. That's just me. I can't just have it. I got to get into it. I got to obsess with it. And it was whiskey. It was Scotch whiskey that I got really into. So got a bit of a collection of whiskey back home, sort of thing. And yeah, that was what. So, but craft beer has always been there. I'm far more of a I'll have a whiskey at night than a beer sort of thing. That's what I like. But so when it came to setting up Sarto, that was their department there. You're the bar guys.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm I've got this idea and this name and this brand and the food idea, and so yeah, that's where that sort of came from. They've since sort of dropped out of that to go and do the Melbourne. So they've gone back to
the what? Sorry?
Melbourne.
I don't know that place.
It's up in Roundhay. It's their new pub. Okay. So they're sort of did Sarto, but they're pubs again now. I think pubs is their world sort of thing. That's where they get their buzz sort of thing.
Okay.
So Melbourne is on, there's that sort of strip of shops that go up to the bottom of Roundhay Park.
Is that where Rosita's got?
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah. So
that's
on that parade.
There's loads. It's like a Stew. Is Stew and Oyster still up there?
I don't know. It's not an end of not a part of the city.
We used to go there with home, didn't we?
Yeah. I'm not sure if that's still there. But there's Preston.
A lot of good spots though. Yeah,
Preston, which is one of the North Bar guys, and Rosita's gaff is up there. But yeah, Melbourne is one of those that's up there.
Oh, cool.
So they've got those two, and they've got a new place opening up in town as well soon as well. So yeah, they're back into the pub world, and then.
So Sarto is purely you now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, pretty much. I've got a bit more of a team there. There's a head chef and a GM and a bit more restaurant structure there.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as the name on the dotted line is at the moment, it's me.
Let's have a sup of this, but also let's get into. I know that you wanted to just spend our time together talking about music, but
that's all I want to talk about.
I know. Let's.
Well, that's different.
Oh. That tastes a little watery, I'll be honest.
There's still a bitterness over the top of it, but
it tastes a little thin. I'm gonna just.
Yeah, I was gonna say thin mouthfeel.
It's
thin mouthfeel. That's where you've got your sort of you got one flavour profile here, you got another one here, but you're sort of suggesting the middle.
But also, how does it compare against the Heineken? Because maybe if it was just up against the lager.
Well, this is it. Heineken's a classic, isn't it? Weirdly reminds me of Florida. That's the only time I've really drunk Heineken with my mate in Florida.
In Florida?
Yeah, I don't know why. That's where I drank Heineken. Only ever drank Heineken.
Ooh.
There you go, Florida.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna. I'm a huge fan of Mash Gang, and I was really hoping to be blown away by Chug, but I wasn't.
The first one was great.
Yeah,
really enjoyed that first one.
It is what it is, but maybe it's more of just a straight down the line. If you hadn't drunk Deya previously, maybe.
Yeah, that's such a juicy sort of burst of flavour, I suppose. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Let's get into the coffee thing, but let's get there via guitar tacking.
Okay.
So
funny, isn't it?
So we got 30 seconds. 30 seconds ends. We've got The Last Chance.
The Last Chance. That band did, for what hardcore was at the time, I feel like did quite well. We would play to like a couple hundred people wherever we went, like, which I think is not bad for a straight edge hardcore band.
Probably
really
underactualized in the grand scheme of things.
Like,
but
people
given the movement as it was, and like
it was
the
what
gravitas
it was,
that the band had.
Yeah, exactly that. Like that scene that band and Ian with his label sort of created has produced bands that are like massive. Or there was
this is Ian Wiles of In the Clear and The Last Chance and the label Dead and Gone.
Dead and Gone Records, yeah.
They're doing again
They've done the whole nostalgia, and that was a good one because that like I was
they're making the effort, doing
the
interviews and
and I've really enjoyed those because you know what I really enjoy now is finding out the sort of people that were going to those shows then. I like knowing what they do now.
Yeah.
Like I wonder where you took it. I
like
wonder what you do.
Trying to
or like,
see if I recognise the
are
faces
you all right?
and shit. Yeah, that as well. Obviously.
Are you out there? You doing okay? Sort of thing. Like, because we were all a bunch of like, you know, you don't end up in that scene because you're nice and well adjusted, do you?
We're all outsiders, but there are so many people that like I'll bump into them down the line, I'm sure, but like just people that I want to see again.
Yeah,
like Portsmouth Joe, if you're out there, that lad was.
There you go.
But that's literally the only name I know him as is Portsmouth Joe. There's so many characters like that. Well, as I say, because it was such a small scene in the UK, it was like I would have been Cardiff Steve.
Exactly that. Yeah.
Because they would just be
or
like one
you
person.
Start a band and you're like Dave 30 Seconds or you're Dave Last Chance, whatever it is. Like it's identity. It is part of your identity at the time, isn't it?
Also, that Last Chance, it's worth noting as well that incredible, and back to Sheep again, fourth mention of the show. High Five stage dive.
Oh, that photo. That photo gets sent to me from all over. I'm sure it gets sent to everybody in that band from all over.
Yeah.
Recently's not right, but I've been sent a photo of it being used in a university lecture somewhere in the States.
Whose photo was it?
So I don't recall the name of the lad, which is bad of me. But because he ended up getting into a bit of bother with ASOS. Because ASOS printed it on a T-shirt.
They did, yeah.
So I hope he sorted that out and got a few quid.
Yeah, I would love to have that as a poster.
I would love to have it as a T-shirt. I wish I got one of them T-shirts. That'd be mad. But that photo's everywhere. If you Google stage dive, it's mad that you'll see a photo of my band playing. Yeah, like as some kind of top hit.
I can still I can visualize Matt. He's he's got this.
Yeah, it was me. I'm sort of like they're like. My face is like, holy shit.
Everyone's just like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, so it's Sean on one side, my mate Sean from Durham, Sheep on the other.
So just to explain it was
stack of PA speakers.
Joseph's Well was a big ass venue that we used to like rock many a time back in the day. And what they attempted to do was across the room do a sort of
20 foot in the air, like
two people dive from either side of the room and high five in the middle. And so what Sheep did was that he ran from I think there was an entrance at the side of the gig room. Yeah. Ran from that entrance, jumped off the steps.
He was on the PA stack.
But
he did come off the steps, did he?
No, he ran.
Oh, okay.
He ran and used the PA stack to jump from. So he sort of like ran, foot down, planted, and then went into the air, whilst the other guy jumped from the shelf, 1 foot on the shelf, 1 foot on the PA. And
mad, isn't it?
It was.
The photo was so great.
The photo was fantastic.
As I say, I can't recall the name of the lad that took it, but
we'll
thanks for getting that. Because that is a photo that, like, obviously,
it defines.
I've saved that photo. I say I'm not much of an archiver, but that photo is saved.
I think it's
it's on my phone.
It's one of those where it's like that's our photo.
That's a good photo.
There's certain photos that's just like like the Clash.
Exactly.
Who's the photographer?
Penny? The photographer I don't recall.
That
show.
We'll drop a name there.
Yeah, that was our time, wasn't it? That photo from our time. It is pretty great like that.
So yes, The Last Chance.
So Last Chance did that sort of thing, and we would tour. We toured Europe with American Nightmare, or Give Up the Ghost as they were. So we toured. We were out there trying to sort of go for it a little bit more. And then 30 Seconds around this time, kind of as I say, sort of fizzled out. Even though I thought it was going to be 30 Seconds, that would be the band that would take me everywhere. And then what do we do? Oh, we mentioned that tour with Snapcase and the Rise.
Yes.
So there's a lad called Andy Tinsley who was Snapcase's tour manager, and we were out with the Rise because they were our mates. And I said, I really want to tour. He was like, what can you do? I was like, nothing. And then I don't even know which band it was at first. He's like, well, we need a guy to sell T-shirts on this next European tour. Do you want to do it? I was like, yeah, sound. And then again, networking, as we've talked about, small little scene, just kind of networked my way. And eventually I got to a point where I was like, well, I can also fix guitars and I can do guitar stuff. And I've got amp knowledge, and that led to me becoming a guitar tech for ages. I think about 4. Must have lived on a bus pretty much for about 4 years, 5 years straight. Wow. So it was, what a time.
Yeah. So what sort of bands were you out with?
So
it was Mastodon.
So Mastodon was like, Mastodon was great, right? Like, what a band. I ended up walking out on that band, unfortunately. Okay. But when it was good, it was great. Yeah. When it was bad, it just made me want to lash out.
When you're touring, yeah. It's a
but
thing.
What a time. What a way to sort of see a lot of the world, Like we toured like Australia, New Zealand with Slayer, and we toured Europe with Tool, and it's like, we did so many US tours. What a time. It was great. After them I did Against Me, which again was just great. Like, watching that unfold was mad, because Against Me were just shifted from that DIY world into the kind of major label world. Yeah. And, that was kind of a mad time sort of thing to drop into their little world for that period. But outside of that, it was everything from like Sugar Cult, pop punk. I'm bouncing off the walls again. Whoa. It was just pure sickly sweet sugar pop punk. Like, pop punkers will know Sugar Cult. Yeah. That was sort of fun, but we toured with like Blink 182. We did the last ever Blink 182. Okay. What was meant to be their last ever tour sort of thing. And then things like Finch, if you remember them. Sick, yeah. From Autumn to Ashes, which is a bit more our world. Like, that was a good gig because we could talk about CBGBs and like Gorilla Biscuits. We had that kind of common ground. But then I would do stuff like, I did Star Sailor, did their merch for a while. Do you remember them? Yeah. Four on the floor.
I'm not going to know any fucking songs, but
indie, like pure indie. Yeah. So there was all sorts going on in there. There were some other bands I'm sure I can remember. So I'm not a drinker. I'm 2 beers and a whiskey shot deep. So at this point, mate, I'm fucking gone. So that's what I did. But
when I was 4 years of that,
a good sort of 4, maybe 5, possibly 6. There was a couple of years of part time in it. Okay. Where I would go away on tour and then I'd come back and I work at Beano's. If you remember that place.
Yeah, of course.
Like a vegan Whole Foods.
I was talking about that with my landlords literally 2 years ago. Yeah. Because I'm trying to think.
Jim was one of the owners of Beano's towards the end of. Yeah, weirdly,
your brother.
Jim, became one of the kind of partners. Wow. So it was a co-op. So he became one of the partners in Beano's.
Because you had to be like a member of the co-op to work there, didn't you?
Yeah. So that was like this kind of vegan.
I used to love that place. We'd go into town and buy like a space bar and a chocolate soy.
Again, mate.
Chocolate soy carton.
They were the best time. Felt like you were really doing something, So I would get a job there, or I would work. Well, just before that, weirdly, also to do with a lot of people that I think you've spoke to. There was a period when I worked at Opposite Cafe at the uni. That was my first proper coffee job.
Didn't your brother work there as well?
He worked there when it was in the Victoria Quarter, which was a little bit later on.
I remember seeing the name Opposite Cafe in his world.
He was there for a little bit. So this was after Beano's, I think. How cliche to be in a vegan straight edge band and then work in a vegan Whole Foods store, like ticking those boxes at the time, innit?
That's Opposite was up near the uni, wasn't it?
It was right by the uni. Opposite the uni. Yeah. So I would work there by day, but then I would work the stage at the cockpit at night. So I would do all the sort of loading in, and then what was loosely termed stage security, which meant throwing people off and doing things that, there was a couple of times where it got handy, as you say. But and I really enjoyed that job. Really enjoyed that job. Like, I really enjoyed the music world. That was a point in my life where I had loads of energy. I did coffee by day and I did gigs by night, and I was buzzing. Yeah. Probably had more money than I've ever had since, to be honest with you. So, and then from that sort of setup of part-time in the cockpit and Opposite and touring, then I've then it became a bit more of a full-time gig. But then towards the end of the touring is when I was a bit like, actually, I think it's coffee that I want to do. So I would use the touring sort of platform to go and find coffee shops in cities.
Okay.
And be like, oh, that what they're doing is ace. Or I'd go to like Seattle to be obvious and be like, oh, okay, I like what they're doing. Like there's a place in Seattle called Bauhaus, which not the greatest coffee ever, but like when you were in that space, there was this overwhelming feeling of this is the right place to be because of the way the staff kind of talk to you and oh, it's English Dave, what do you want today? You know, like I've only been here 3 times and I've already got a name like that. So that's something I learned during that sort of time about hospitality, where like it's important to make the customer feel like they made the right decision coming to your business. It's like really important. So it was during that kind of touring world where I knew that actually I wanted to do coffee as a full-time, get stuck into it kind of gig. Yeah. So yeah, I came out of the touring world into the coffee world really.
But when you'd set up this company prior to Laynes, this consultancy?
So that was a company that was already set up called Coffee Community, which was run by a guy called Paul, who I would say is like my mentor in the professional coffee world, big time. He now owns a coffee roastery called Darkwoods, which you'll see all over the city. So that's Paul now. Is that a collab with Darkwoods?
I wouldn't be surprised if it was now that you've said it.
Because they do that sort of thing all the time.
There's coffee in the mix here, but I don't know where it's come from. But there's a lot of those. Yeah, they're the dons.
They're everywhere. They're great. And Paul has like been on that coffee scene forever, and sort of. I remember interviewing for the job. He was running it as a one-man sort of show. Yeah. And I was the one and only member of staff he ever brought into that company. I think. I remember going to interview for the job, which was through Lou, Opposite. She owns Opposite. Okay. Lou's like, oh, you should talk to Paul, he needs somebody. You'll be perfect for it. So I went out to Meltham, near Huddersfield, and interviewed for a job, and we spoke about Joy Division for about an hour. That's all we did. We just talked about Joy Division and the sort of qualities of post-punk in Manchester in that era. And then I got offered the job at the end of it. I was like, we ain't talked shit about coffee. We just talked about Joy Division.
So to give a context as to what the company was, essentially sort of like, if you're wanting to set up a coffee business, we'll tell you every aspect and guide you all the way.
So we were a sort of a coffee industry consultancy company, but we also did, weirdly, loads of sort of like auditing for bigger companies. So if you had a small little indie coffee company, we could tell you everything you needed to know about how to like set up and get going. But I also did auditing for Upper Crust. You remember them, the baguettes at train stations? And Ritazza, if you remember them. No. Also in Ritazza. It was like a coffee chain that existed really in like transport hubs. Yeah. So train stations and airports. So I would write their like quality control manual and expectations, but I would then visit every store that they have in the world as a secret customer and audit them. So I got to travel all over the world with that, weirdly. Oh, wow. I would fly to like Thailand to order a latte, which is like really bad when you think about the fumes that I've created.
I mean, but what are you going to do? It's a separate conversation. Yeah. It's like, again, back to, we're going to give Sheep the sixth mention of the show, but it's like as much as like he's one of the most...
in my life forever.
Well, it's why I'm in Leeds. But
there you go.
It's... as much as he is one of the most sort of moralistically driven people that I know and like ideologically brilliant, he has had a career that has probably got more
his carbon footprint
on it than anyone that I know as a tour manager.
He's out there and he's seen some places, isn't he? So
he's a fucking great guy. And if anyone in the world is going to like sort of counterbalance that aspect of their lives in some other way, I know he still does. He's a big supporter of Blackfish. Leeds United, of course. I was going to say Blackfish.
Records.
Is it Glaspers, Sea Shepherd as well?
Oh yeah. He's out there doing that for sure.
All of those things. And absolutely. So I think he's actually been on the boats and done the Sea Shepherd thing.
Probably, I believe so. Like he's on it. Like he's held right. He's done well like that.
But what were we saying before that?
So Coffee Community was this kind of like coffee consultancy.
Go to Thailand for a latte.
Yeah, just to do that. So, and it was sort of like during that period. Well, my logic at the time. If I'm going to be a consultant to the industry, what I should do is open a shop to say, I've done it.
I was
going to
say, this is basically...
created it and like...
You've got the cheat codes.
Yeah, basically.
You've got the cheat codes to it. And
because I've done it. And like, look how well it's doing. I was supposed to have been this sort of consultant type thing. That was what I was going to do, because I quite like the whole like imparting knowledge and like, here's what I've learned, but also, I want you to know about it.
But also essentially getting paid to not really work.
Yeah, like because you're using your knowledge and your experience. And I thought the
it's
greatest
your time that's being paid for.
100%. Yeah. I thought the greatest string to that bow would be to open a shop and then be like,
as a proof of concept.
I've done it. Like, so here's everything I've learned. And I knew it would consume my time for a little while. I was going to
say, you just forgot to step away.
It just fucking consumed my life.
You just,
Consumed.
Well, I remember when you first started it, you were saying you were having to get up at like 4 or 5 in the morning every fucking day.
I mean, I still do that quite a lot now, because I've also now got a wholesale bakery that I sometimes do delivery runs for. So I'm still getting up on a morning.
Yeah.
And I don't mind that.
Well, it's good to get a routine in.
Yeah, I'm a morning. Well, I think I'm a morning person. Don't really have a choice at this point. But,
you run a bakery, pal.
Yeah. I've got a coffee shop and a bakery. I'm a morning guy, aren't I? So that was the idea behind. That was one of the motivators behind Laynes, was that I could have this, create this, roll it, and then I can go back to that and be like, trust me, pay me. I've done it.
Well, I guess
I can tell you what you need to know.
If it was the system we've got set up at Sarto, where you've got like the infrastructure,
exactly.
That. But
but I mean, part of the reason why I didn't go back to that was because I really buzzed on Laynes. I was buzzing, on the hospitality aspect of it, on that like.
Well, as soon as you dropped, it was.
We did all right. There was a period where we didn't really, like any startup, you've got to get your name out there for a little while. Yeah. And we were kind of early on that curve of what coffee is, and and speciality or third wave or what you want to call it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a total outsider of that whole world, but it did seem that it was just it was an explosion.
Yeah.
Of just
absolutely.
Like there was a point at which, I mean, as I say, total outsider. So let's just pluck a number of just like 2008. Prior to that, the amount of like independent places where you could go in and just get like good coffee was just maybe 2 in the city.
I think if you were lucky, I think Opposite.
Like there was
when I got the job at Opposite, that was the only place. With the knowledge that I had about that world, I was like, that's the only place that's doing it right.
I always used to fuck with what's that one under the library, the museum and the library area. Them kids, not the tiled cafe. It was underneath.
Oh, Brew Bar
Espresso.
Right, so Brew Bar, shout out to Josh, who worked there, who still works with me now to this day.
I see him in the park with his dog.
Decade. Yeah, his Labrador.
Yeah.
So Josh, who was there for a while.
He's a good fucking dude. Yeah.
So there you had Josh, who still works with me now. He manages, so I run all the on-campus food for the Leeds Arts Uni. Okay. So all their canteen and catering and all their events, all the food up there is me.
Dr. Lyons?
Dr. Lyons, that's the company.
What the hell does that mean?
So there's always a story. So to be real quick, basically I wanted to name it, I needed to give it a name and a bit of a brand. The idea was that I went in there with a brand, like a standalone brand.
Okay.
And I found it used to be an old Victorian school, like every other kind of, like the old Hyde Park school. But it got levelled. So just before it got leveled, I guess a bunch of kids must have got hold of some paint, and they sort of painted on the end of the terraces that are opposite it. They painted like a zoo scene with loads of animals, and I think it says "Don't touch the lions." But some of the paint has started to fall off, and one of the walls has fallen down.
And all that was left was Dot.
It just looks like Dot the Lions. I was like, that's like
that is the most fucking
ambiguous and
fucking
exactly. So it's utterly related to the location. It don't mean shit.
Yeah.
And it's like dead artsy, innit, for art students. Dot the Lions Limited. So Josh, who from that gaff, he's there now. And then Luca worked at Laynes with me for ages.
Luca was down there, the blonde lad.
Yeah. He's now in web design, so he now does that.
He lives around the way as well. I think.
Yeah, he's up on like not the Lumleys. Is it Lumley?
He's
only around the road.
I occasionally see him around the way. Yeah,
he's just around the back.
All of the people down at that spot were fucking great guys.
So sound.
Charlie.
Charlie Baines now in
Barnes.
Barnes. In what's that band? Bastille. Plays guitar in Bastille.
I was going to say Bastions. That was an entirely different thing.
Charlie.
Bastille. Yeah.
Who are like fucking up there. Big band. So Charlie's in Bastille. Still see him every now and again.
He was a solo. had his solo career, but he also has another kind of group. He does a thing with a pal, I think.
Yeah, maybe. He's again like just a musical outlet, isn't he?
He's ridiculous.
Bastille's his like gig. I think.
And then he'd be silly to leave that, but it's like it's I remember writing years ago of this sort of feeling like I was in this paradigm of what was it called? My vocabulary's died. The paradox of loving the life that I had doing the band stuff back then, the early 2000s, and knowing that like I'd be looking back on that life in years to come as the time of my life, but also equally realizing that I needed to move beyond it to progress as a person.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
and it was just that thing of like, just how do you deal with something like that, knowing that you're leaving something that you know in the future will be like the greatest moment. It was like,
for me, sort of leaving that, I had to like leave it, if that makes sense. Like I really had to like immerse and obsess. Like I've like obsessions is like something I do. But I kind of like, because I was so driven by that world that you're describing, like I was in 2, if not 3 bands. I'd be booking gigs all the time. I needed to, I think looking back, I had to kind of leave it. Though I'd never turn my back on it. I needed a new obsession. And that was the best way for me to sort of move on.
That's what they always say about addictions, that you just replace one with another.
Yeah.
Like the alcoholics that go into running,
sort
of stuff.
Or yoga.
I was going to say all the
general wellness.
All of the ex-punk kids that go into running.
Punk running is a massive thing. I was really into running until my back went. It's because of running I got a shit back now.
It's because of that shit I don't run.
There you go. You do right. Don't do it.
Our lass is big into that world of things.
Is it? Yeah.
And so whenever you see her, she's just like, offer her carbs and she'll be your friend forever.
Okay.
But she did an event recently in Deya 24.
Oh wow. One of those
horrible
things.
As it sounds, literally just running in a field for 24 hours.
I've got mates that do it.
Andrew, do you know Andrew from Joe 90?
Yeah.
So he was up there with it was a vegan team.
Is it really? He was endurance running team.
He was part of a vegan team that was running it. Yeah.
Talk about pulling the punk world along with you, sort of thing. Like that's
in
amazing.
Every way possible. So I'm just trying to think where we were at. So you've been the consultancy. You're into Laynes.
Got Laynes open.
Right. So you've got Laynes, and you somehow just basically stayed there because, as I say, back then it was like you probably as an outsider, and I know I didn't really get down as much as maybe I could have done because it is what it is. But it's a tiny coffee shop.
It was a tiny coffee shop.
Fucking tiny.
The idea was it was just an espresso, a grab and go place for people using the train station.
Being right next to the train station as well.
That was
it was
my whole
absolute godsend of a location.
Yeah. I used to walk up that street looking for an empty unit to put a coffee shop in, where I'd been like, that's where you need to have a coffee shop one day. And for like years.
Yeah.
And I literally walked up there one day and there was a unit to let sign.
Okay.
I was like, oh shit, here we go. So I called the number, and then the guy who was a hairdresser who was in the next unit being like, oh yeah, come on in. Like, come on. And I was like, so I went in and he gave me the landlord's number. And then on we go. Took out a personal loan.
Well, I was going to say, without getting too personal, how did you...
Just did that, took out a personal loan. I was lucky in that I came out of that touring gig with enough cash to buy a house in Bramley.
Because this was post-financial collapse, obviously, as well. Yeah.
So I had enough money to buy a back-to-back in Bramley for 88 grand. I had enough for a 10% deposit. You ain't buying shit for 88 grand anymore, are you? So, and I still live in that house now, sort of thing. And then I think, personally, the little I understand all that, because I owned a house, the bank was willing to lend. They had something they could take off me, which was the house. So I borrowed 20 grand, which is mad that I started that shop on 20 grand now, with how much stuff costs. So I borrowed 20 grand and made it work. We built the bar, I got the machine, and we made a coffee shop with 20 grand. Yeah. And here we are still.
I was going to say, I think I knew a girl a couple of years prior to that who set up a shop in Hyde Park, and I'm pretty sure she took out a 30 grand loan. But
that's scary. I'm constantly. I'm still. Laynes is paying loans now because we've done a recent extension. So I borrowed a whole load of money again.
There's been a couple of that.
There's been a couple of those. Yeah.
But I was going to say she set that up and it failed as a business, and she promptly disappeared from Leeds. What's that?
B is that you said B?
No.
She had a vegan calf up in Hyde Park for a little while.
No, it was a vegan calf though.
Which one was it? Do you know? Punk vegan?
No. a separate one. We'll talk later.
Yeah.
But
only because I know both of those people, sort of thing. So
Yeah.
the chef that was at Punk Vegan is now about to start chefing for me up at the uni. I think.
Oh, cool.
I shouldn't say that. We've just we're negotiating.
Oh, I saw you were looking.
Possible,
I saw you were looking. Yeah.
And I really hope we do, because I think that'll be like a great project. Sort of thing. So, yeah.
No, oh yeah, Punk Vegan. They were on. They were
corner.
They were a couple
corner.
up. Yeah. That's been taken over by the. Is it like a Caribbean type place?
Is it right?
Something?
Okay.
Yeah.
Not been up there in
Looks
ages,
really
yeah.
cool, that place now. Yeah,
Cool.
but
Good.
no, yeah, different thing. But
Different
yeah,
thing.
I'd never gone in there. I'd seen it was vegan for the longest, and then they started serving meat at some point.
Oh, did they? Right, I don't.
I'm pretty sure. I seem to remember that, but separate conversation.
Yeah.
So personal loan, setting up Laynes.
Yeah.
The ball gets rolling. 2017 was the first extension.
Yeah. I
Okay.
believe so.
Yeah.
I trust you on that.
And
Mate, the last 13 years is a blur, but
yeah,
sure.
I can only imagine.
Like,
and
I believe that sounds right. 6 years into it. Like.
I can only imagine the costs involved, because the surveying types that you worked with were like, they were so enamored with it. They were like, they put out an article about working with you. It's like,
it was a bit, yeah. It was quite funny at that point. 6 years in, Laynes was like a bit of a name that other people could hype, like their attachment, which was like, oh, okay, like, and the solicitor that I use is like a mate of mine.
Oh, okay.
But it's like they did like it become a mate of mine sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I remember the photo shoot to announce that they worked on the lease. I was like, oh, are we like somewhere to like attach and hype to?
I just figured it was
And
like
that's
this
fine.
is a high billing client. We got to like roll
well,
out the red carpet.
I don't know. I just think it's. I don't know.
So that was across into the next unit.
That was the
stage.
next unit. Yeah. So the units 1 and 2, if you like, were originally a hair salon.
Okay, yeah.
Financial crash and all that like 2009, 10, 11, they decided to go down to a single unit, which freed up a unit for Laynes, which became Laynes. And then they eventually moved out to a whole other unit. So when they moved out, I basically put it back through to a double unit, which was a relatively easy job because the wall wasn't brick.
Yeah.
It was just, a stud wall. So you knock the wall down, put a kitchen in. So yeah, that was the big thing at the time, was the addition of food and stuff like that.
Yeah. And then
it's gone on since.
Goes on further,
recently, yeah.
and I can only imagine the stress that would have been involved in all of that. And then 2002 comes along, and a further extension.
Yeah, so that extension was like the sort of what it is now was the thing that I always wanted. I always wanted that full sort of room. But
this is downstairs, or
yeah. So upstairs, so it's now like a triple unit, if you like, upstairs and down. It was the right thing at the wrong time because we were just coming out of the COVID thing, and the tenant who'd been there for 24 years, ID Aromatics, decided he wanted to get out early because of this business had kind of dropped off a bit of a cliff, I think, with COVID, and so it was offered to me, but I was like, I've got no money. It's COVID, like struggling, but I just had to make it work. So I ended up borrowing loads.
Okay.
Loads and loads, like 150 grand or something stupid like that, which are numbers that I never intended to deal with. Like still now I can't really.
Yeah. Oh no, it's
like
when you step into those world of things, it's just like mortgages and things. It's like
just,
they're fantasy figures to not really
huge figures, and I've just got to make them go away. Like I've just got to make that number be smaller when they need it to go smaller. Yeah. That's like the intention there.
But then around the same time as well, you were then, were you
like
renegotiating your lease?
Yeah, so at the same time renegotiated the lease, so I'd committed to this new unit and spent all this money. Well, the total bill was around about, which again, numbers are just mad. It was about 185, maybe 200 grand to do all of that, which is just wild, isn't it? Like it blows my mind those sorts of numbers. I can't really.
It's like how many espresso have I got to sell to make this stuff now?
I do those numbers. So
just as a hypothetical. Let's
that's so many people. So yeah, at the same time, it was a lease negotiation. I've been there for 10 years. The landlord is again sort of somebody. So the landlord comes from hospitality. The landlord's dead sound.
Yeah.
So it's quite nice to be able to say that about a landlord.
Yeah.
Sort of James, shout out to James. He's always looked out for me.
Big up James. Cheers, pal.
Yeah, man. So he is
a friend to Leeds coffee.
Mate, big time. Like he's the son. Do you remember
that
Gilder?
Fucking fly. Sorry, he was.
It's all right.
He's been around this afternoon and
just interested.
I thought I killed him, but apparently not.
Might be
I'm
an
a killer
associate
bastard now.
So James is the. Do you remember Gilda, the singing lady that was in Pasta Romagna? The opera singing lady.
Yeah. And
so,
she stopped. At some point.
Yeah. So James, my landlord, is her son.
Oh,
so
okay.
There's like a big association with that. Greatest words of wisdom from, I think it was Gilda. I hope I'm getting the name right. When I first told her how much I was paying for coffee by the kilo for Laynes, she told me that I should immediately go into the downstairs of Pasta Romagna, turn on the oven, and then gas myself to death, because that is ridiculous amount of money to pay for coffee. So I ended up trying to explain to this lady what third wave coffee was all about.
Yeah.
Nah, you fucking need to kill yourself, bruv. You're never going to make it. So I think because he comes from that world, he's always understood if he gives somebody like me the opportunity those early days, they can have something like what he's got now, which is more than just a little, he's got a portfolio of property.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, I'll never have a port, but there's that opportunity handed to me, because I think at the time he sort of screened who the tenants were going to be, and then I sort of said what I wanted to do, and he thankfully said, yeah, you can have it. But yeah, he understood the opportunity that you need to get going.
Nice.
Which is important. Like, landlords hold the keys literally at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So they need to be the ones that give people like me, when I was younger, the opportunity. They've got to allow us in and be fair with what they need back.
Given everything that you've said, why in the fuck did you start Sarto?
So, what a question. So, it's 2019.
Did you really think that you had that energy in you?
Yeah. It's 2019 and everything's just fine.
Everything's
just going fine. Laynes is at a point where...
I can't see anything that would derail that
what
scenario.
Could possibly get in the way of any hospitality-based idea. 2019, we're getting to the end of it. I've had those conversations with the guys from the Brunswick. They're like, holy shit, we've had the same idea. We referenced a couple of little restaurants that we've seen. I was like, I've got a place for it, I've got a name for it, I've got a brand concept, identity for it. I just need like a team. I knew that I needed a team to do it. And so we opened on my 40th birthday in October, which is obviously the best way to detract from turning 40, is to open a restaurant. And you know what? It just flew and it was great.
Yeah.
So 2019, November really, when we got going sort of thing. November, December, what a run into Christmas. I had a little break for New Year's. We all were like patting ourselves on the back, like nailed it here, boys. Yeah. January gets going and it just starts the same. We're like, is this going to be a good January in hospitality? What the hell is going on? What the hell?
Yeah.
February sort of starts. I remember my brother flies to Ireland for a gig, for a job, comes back, and he just can't shake this cough. And this is before we're talking about it.
Yeah.
Really ill for about 8, 9, 10 days.
I had that in February as well.
He did it, yeah. He had this cough and he could not shake it. I mean, now we know. He must have had, he got the COVIDs. And then, the world just fucking melts, doesn't it? And then we're there stuck. Again, borrowed a lot of money to do it. So we're there with these huge sort of, it's more sort of leases than loans. I leased all the kit. You lease all the equipment. Yeah. That gets it all in the room. The leasing company owns it technically until you've paid off that last pound.
Oh, okay.
So, but if you don't keep up for payments, it wallops your credit rating for one thing, but also they have the right to come and take it out. And without kit, you ain't got a restaurant. So right as all this COVID stuff kicks off, we've got to make sure we make lease-free payments so we can still have a restaurant. We've got to make sure we can make the rent payments so we still have a restaurant. And then all the while, it's just like, it just goes on, doesn't it? Yeah. 3 months, it'll be done. 6 months, and then da-da-da. And then, it was it is a great idea. It was absolutely banging, but we are one of those unfortunates that started just a handful of months right before COVID.
There are so many stories of that, like
tons of them out there.
Countless stories.
Everything, we were in a good place right before that. Like the confidence to open that was founded in the fact that I feel like things weren't too bad. Like the climate, the economic climate and sort of stuff. I don't know. Maybe I was deluded, but I had the energy. I certainly had the energy. I don't have the energy anymore. Like after the last 4 years, whatever it's been, I'm like, I got old and tired sort of thing. But it's just been taxing.
So what does it look like now for you? I know that like any given day is going to be different, but what would you say week-wise? Are there any sort of like continuities of just things? What does the week look like for you?
So let's go through this week, I suppose. So today's Monday, isn't it? So finish off hopefully negotiating a new job role for the head chef at the uni site. So there's like a little bit of the Leeds Arts Uni that I've done. And then what else did I do today? I took the car to the garage, had to get the tracking done, important. And then it's just I need like an admin day every week, so it's a bit of an admin day. But then tomorrow I'm on the bar at Laynes. And then Wednesday, I've got a couple of other bits. They've got an electrician in who used to play guitar in Derail again. Back
Mr. Wright.
to this, Mr. Wright.
I bloody love Neil.
Yeah.
What's his company called? I'm trying to think.
Right Electronics, I think.
Right Electronics Solutions.
With a double S. Right Electronical Solutions, possibly.
There we go. So
on the instance.
Yeah. He's one of those fellas as well that, like, as long as I've known him and as long as we did all the band stuff, he's been a grafter working on.
Yeah, big time. Yeah.
He's a lovely fucking guy. If you've got any electronics that need doing across the Leeds bar scene,
domestic or commercial, but certainly commercial.
Yeah.
Get Neil in.
Mr. Neil Wright, sterling fella.
Recently started his own company, like broke out for his own company.
After decades of doing it in other people's company. Interestingly, his new band is the one that I was interested in putting gigs on again.
There you go. So he's one of those guys that's kept doing bands as well. So hats off to that as well.
Lock and Keys.
Yeah, exactly.
I fucking love them. I've gone to see Lock and Keys across their entire career, and they've always been fucking great.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
He's always done good stuff.
But anyway, Neil Wright, thank you.
So well done, Neil Wright. So there's a couple of lane shifts in there this week. There's a bakery delivery run in there. There is a Sarto meeting in there, where, because there's a bit more of a structure there, I'll come in on like a Thursday. Yeah. We'll have 2 or 3 hours, what's sort of going on. So I suppose really what I'm saying is the week is whatever is thrown at me, really. Okay. And if I'm on a shift, I'm in Laynes. Laynes is still where I do a shift.
Yeah. So it's usually like 2 or 3 shifts a week.
Yeah, if that's maximum sort of thing.
Okay.
I used to try and do a bit more, mostly because I really enjoy it. I like being on the bar. I still buzz on being on the bar.
I love seeing you in there.
Yeah, it's like, and that's like, it's like my thing.
Yeah.
But there's so much other stuff to do these days. If I do more than 1 or 2 a week in there, I start getting a bit like uptight about the amount of stuff I should be doing.
The awareness of being elsewhere.
Yeah. It's like, well, you should be doing like this, or you haven't paid that bill, and you need to pay that bill. So things like that. So
with the bakery side, is there like quite a strong B2B side of it, or is it a lot of it with you? Would you say like 50% goes internally, 50% elsewhere, or what sort of split is it?
More that I think we have 11 customers across the city.
Well done.
2 of those are my own, which is Laynes and the So there's sort of 8 or 9 outside of that. And they're places that like we're dead proud to like supply. Like they're places that we want to go to anyway. So we got like Culture on Kirksall Road, and just for a couple of examples, Fika up in Eddingley. Yeah. There's the Pariah Cycle Cafe in Chapel Allerton. And that's not to say that they're my favourites, because otherwise the other ones will get like. But like these are places that like we like to go anyway. So it's really great that we're able to be a part of their kind of offer with a bit more B2B behind the scenes. I've always wanted a bakery. Yeah. Love that stuff.
I've loved the options that you guys are doing as well. It's like it's one thing to just do the standard fare well, but then when you go into a spot and it's like, we've got the standards, but then it's pistachio and beetroot. What the fuck?
Yeah. We try to be a bit more interesting, like a pickled courgette. Stuff like that.
We're literally just, when we kind of get to the point of like, what are we having? It's like, fuck, gonna need another minute.
The classics are always there. The classics are great. Do those well, and everyone's happy. But we try to do interesting stuff. So like that's a shout out to Kat, the sort of head baker there, who is the partner of Luca, who used to work on the coffee bar at Brew Bar.
There we go.
It's just all in there, isn't it? Just all in there. So that's the sort of wholesale bakery that we do. And that's just something I've always wanted. Arguably,
it's fucking great.
Do too much, but here we are.
I'm gonna just bake my own cakes.
Yeah. I was like, I love pastries, mate. I just love pastry.
I have a question.
Go for it.
Current favourite pastry that you do?
So today I had a cinnamon roll, because I was at a shop that we supply to called Miles & Co, which is run by a mate of ours called Lee, and I haven't had one of those in ages, right? And I had one with him. I was like, how's everything? Are they doing all right, sort of thing? I was helping him out with some machine kit as well, and we were like, I'll tell you what, let's just have one of these. Me and you have a cinnamon roll together, a cinnamon knot. It was so good, because I haven't had it in so long. I was like, oh shit, these things are so good. But outside of that, the Marmite and cheese swirl is just like, that was one where I'm like, you do what you want, but we're making one of them, and it has to be like the best one. I love that. So Marmite and cheese swirl, mate, every time.
My
That and a
mac
cup
cheese
of
is the
coffee in the
main,
morning.
And cinnamon as a dessert.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, starters and mains,
Nice.
mains and desserts. But a cup of coffee and a marmite and cheese swirl in the morning. Like, I could have that for the next 20 years. And I'm like, I'm buzzing. Like,
let's have a sup on this fella.
Yeah,
so this
stouts.
it's not too strong a fella. It is just
Looks
at
heavy, doesn't
8.4%. It is a pecan maple coffee chocolate pastry stout
Jesus Christ, it's all in there.
from Northern Monks. So Northern Monk every year do a Dark and Wild beer festival at the refectory site in Leeds.
Right.
And this is the 2023 edition festival beer. The beer festival, I think, is coming up in October this year. Give it a shout. Shouts to Cal, who runs all of that shit. They're always fucking great. It's the sort of the sister event to Hop City in the summer. I gotta just give it the full. It's Northern Monk. It's my obligation to.
Like, from a Laynes perspective, those events are great because every cycle of those events, we see all these beer folk come back.
Needing coffee.
Yeah. The next morning, it's like just loads of these beer folks that we see every year that we're starting to say, like, how you doing? Like, what's happened in the last 12 months? Like, it's pretty great because, we are the daytime hospitality people, granted, but there is that crossover with this kind of like beer or night hospitality world. We have that crossover, and it's usually when they come in hanging the next day. So I think we're there to like, you're going to be all right. Come on.
I was going to say, just keeping the bartenders fueled. This smells phenomenal.
So this smell reminds me of, in Quality Street, you got the caramel keg and the coffee in Quality Street. Mash them two together, and that's what it would smell like. Just sugary, sweet, caramelly coffee.
Yeah, I think usually for me, we if it's on the dark tip, we'll usually go with an imperial. So like they usually sort of 8, 11, whatever percentage. So with it being a lower ABV, 8.4 is still pretty up there.
It's up there.
It just feels potentially a little thinner than I'm used to body-wise, but taste-wise, fucking great.
It's just so sweet to me.
I think the one thing
I'm not one for sweet. I'm not a sweet tooth guy.
Okay.
I'm more of a. I mean coffee, right? I mean the world of bitters and.
There's a coffee to it.
It's like big time, but it's like molasses and sweetness through that. It's nice.
Yeah, I'd given
any heavier, I probably wouldn't like it so much, but I really like that.
I'd given Cal a shout because I wasn't sure on the best before had said March this year. So I was like, dude, is this going to be all right? I was like, yeah, because it's a pastry stout.
So what's the pastry? They put like a yeast through it. Is that the pastry?
I think on the pastry front, it's usually like a lactose element.
Sure.
So it might not be vegan.
Neither am I. So
I lose track.
No, I'm veggie, so yeah, not vegan anymore. I know we've talked about that a lot, but yeah, that kind of, you know what, that slipped actually during the touring sort of days.
Okay, yeah.
When I would, especially on the bigger tours I used to work, when we would get catering come out with us, what a life of luxury. Yeah. I would end up turning down quality veggie food to buy pretty rubbish vegan road food. Okay. And then that and a bunch of other decisions was like, I think I need to, I'm still, today I had a vegan pasty by choice. You know what I mean? Yeah. Still picking the vegan option.
There. If I got a little Tokyo, I will still always go for the full vegan options of vegan. Was it the chickenless legs that they did?
Yeah, mate. Yeah,
fucking great. Exactly. I've legit had like the exact same meals, starter and main, for 24 years.
When I go to Fuji Hero, it's the same.
Yeah.
You can go to Fuji Hero since 98 or 99. Still get the same, pretty much. Yes, yakisoba.
Why change perfection? Yakisoba.
Yeah, every time. Yeah. All good. Everything's fine. But yeah.
I reckon that's probably about as good a place as any to piece it out.
Because I need the bathroom anyway after all the booze.
Anything else you wanted to?
No, man. I just think no, nothing else to add. Just
I would say get the fuck down to Sarto though. I think Laynes Laynes is known. Laynes it's busy. Although I will say, every time I've done a walk up on there, I don't think I've ever booked to go to the Sarto or Laynes, and I've always gotten in there.
Yeah,
as busy as Laynes gets.
Laynes, I would. When people ask, I always say it's a good idea to book at Laynes.
Even on a weekend, though, I'll still rock up on a fucking Saturday and get a spot.
We don't allow reservations in the downstairs section, so if you're okay with being downstairs, there's probably going to be a seat. We also get outside seating.
Yes.
Once all that work out the front is done.
Once that's done, that's going to be
dragging on. But once that's done, that's like a gift. But Sarto, mostly. Friday, Saturday nights you might struggle to walk up, but mostly you can just rock up.
I've been going there for Sunday lunches for time now.
I love it,
It's the focaccia is a starter every fucking time.
Love it. That comes out the bakery, you see. That's the Laynes bakery making that. Send it there.
Nice. So. And it's, I think it's one of them things as well that, like, I'm a total meathead now. And there's some fantastic meat options, but there's more vegetarian, vegan options than there are meat options.
Well, that's
it's like there's 4-2.
Yeah, so part of the way that I kind of like settle for myself, for my personal sort of ideas, the menu is sort of 75-80% vegetarian.
But it's shit you want to try, though. It's like everything that's there. It's like,
I don't think you're lacking or missing out by going for one of them.
Not at all. Every time I've seen the vegetarian options, it's been like, it's tempted me across. But I think the meat options as well they're so high level. It's just I can't.
Yeah, people love it.
I can never pronounce that.
Indoya, yeah. If you like it, you love it. Indoya.
Is that how you say it?
I've always said it like that. I might be wrong. I don't know.
I've literally never. Because have you tried Stuzzy's Ndoya?
I haven't.
Ketchup.
Ndoya
ketchup. It's the ketchup. The Ndoya ketchup is bloody game changer. It's fucking great. I've gone through bottles of that shit. So Stuzzy, shout out. Let's piece it out.
Cashed in the roll life vibration for a caffeination station. From F's to beans in a restaurant dream. Daveo's making it work in the Leeds scene.
Parade of Grafters.
Jackie can go!
Ding, ding.